Kia ora, we are learning to write poems to entertain. In this flip video, we'll give you 6 different examples and 6 different types of poems that you could possibly write. The first one is a limerick, and a limerick is a type of poem. Limericks are usually very silly poems that are fun to write and fun to read. A limerick always has 5 lines. Limericks have got a specific pattern, and they also have a specific rhyming pattern to them. The first, second, and fifth line all have the same rhyme, so they have the same sound at the end of each of those lines. The third line and the fourth line have got a different rhyming sound, and it is important that that pattern is followed in order for the poem to be a limerick. Here is an example. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1 and down he run, hickory dickory dock. So we can have a look at the rhyming words. On the first line is dock, on the second line is clock, and on the fifth line is dock. And on lines 3 and 4, we've got 1 and run. That's your example of a limerick. A cinquain is another type of poem. This poetry style also has 5 lines. They have different rules to follow. The first line has 1 word, which is shown up here, poetry. The second line has 2 words, clever and crafty. And these lines have to follow a subject and a style. So the first word in the first line is the subject of the poem, which is what poetry is. The second words in the line describes the subject, clever and crafty. The third line, which has 3 words, which is shown here, has to have action words about the subject, or doing words, so writing, composing, and describing. The fourth line has 4 words, and these are feelings about the subject, so best words and best order is an example. The fifth line is 1 word, and it's usually a synonym for the subject, so in this case, verse. Verse is another word for poetry. Here is another example of a cinquain that has been wrote by somebody called Fiona. Dragon, strong, fierce, fly, walk, eat. A dragon is fierce, creature. Another style of poetry is a haiku. A haiku is a Japanese poem, and a Japanese poem has 3 lines. And like the first 2 poems, they also have some rules that you need to follow. The first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables, and the third line has 5 syllables. An example of a haiku is sand scatters the beach. Waves crash on the sandy shore. Blue water shimmers. This is an example wrote by somebody called Caitlin. Another style of poetry can be a free verse poem. Now, a free verse poem is a poem that does not have a set form. It doesn't have consistent rhyme or rhythm to it. They have no set pattern that is followed. They have a little bit more freedom when they're writing. This is an example of a free verse poem. Skunk. Black, white, striped. Tiny, round eyes. Skunky smell, sharp claws. Skinny, sharp, vampire teeth. Big, bushy tail. Like a flag, waving. Help! I need tomato juice. Another version of poetry could be a shape poem. Shape poems are made up of words that have been placed in such a way that they make the shape of an object and also use words to describe the shape. Here's a couple of different examples of a shape poem. So this shape poem here is called In a Twist, and it looks like it's almost the shape of a twister. We felt the rain, wind, and hail, and then the thunder and lightning came. The winds gathered up and began to spin, like a spinning top sucking up dust like a vacuum cleaner. The twister went around and around like a merry-go-round. The gusts of air were picking up dust. It continued to roar loudly, destroying everything along the way. Soon it was gone. Here is another example of a shape poem. This one is in the shape of a star, and the information and the subject is all about a star. Another form of poetry could be a couplet poem. They're 2 lines of poetry, one after the other, that rhyme and are of the same length and rhythm. So there is a pattern to a couplet poem. Here is an example. I can slurp on a truck. I can slurp in the muck. I can slurp with my coat. I can slurp sitting in a moat. I can slurp under a log. I can slurp in the fog. I can slurp with my cake. I can slurp at the lake. I can slurp here or there. I can slurp anywhere. It's now your turn to write your own poem and choosing a style that you would particularly like to try. Are you going to have a look first and have a look at the Limerick? Are you going to have a look at the Cinquain? Are you going to have a look at the Haiku? Or a free verse poem? Or maybe a shape poem? Or a couplet poem? It's your choice. Before you come up and see me, please make sure you've got an example of a poem. Until next time.